What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. I'm sure you all felt that little crackle in the air this morning when you woke up and knew today is the day the final Mygeeto update drops. I could not be happier with how this mock is looking. Even though the bulk of the build has been done for a while, there were a lot of patches of exposed filler plates and unfinished buildings which made the mock look messy and very incomplete. But today Mygeeto sheds its drab work robes and dons its cloak of finery, and you get to see the results of that transformation. So if you're ready for me to stop talking about my mocks wearing clothes, don't forget to execute order 66 on that like button, and let's get to it. I'm starting the final week with a bunch of pickup work for a couple of reasons. First, I'm waiting on 2 critical hauls to finish the city and main bridge, and second, I'm just kind of tired and low energy this week, and pickup work like this is quick, doesn't require too much thinking or planning, so it's a good way to warm up for the week. I don't have much pickup work though, since the mock is smaller than most I've done, and a lot of it is one big rock chunk that doesn't need much fine tuning or adjusting. One thing I'm still trying to figure out is what to do with this tunnel and surrounding area. I got the last battery pack I need, so now it's lit up, but I don't know what the minifig situation is going to look like. It's a tunnel going to some kind of separatist bunker or hangar, since I have a droid base already on the other side. I had a couple of options in mind. First is a classic barricade with 3 small barricade walls with droids and small infantry support weapons defending the entrance. This would be a pretty easy route to go, but I feel like it's just too basic and I do this kind of stuff all the time, so I was thinking about adding some heavy weaponry to make things more interesting. This J1 proton cannon could be emerging out of the tunnel entrance, about to destroy the main bridge from below as a last-ditch effort to keep the Republic from entering the city, and that could also explain why the Republic is trying to secure that tunnel entrance. I think this is better story-wise, but let me know in the comments which option you prefer. I've been scanning the mock looking for other things to do, and I remembered this crater needs some rubble. I wish I had added more of these into the bridge, but with how big the missing chunks are and how many vehicles will be battling and covering up the ground, I felt like 2 would be enough. I also have a couple of slabs of wall to add to the main road, and with those in, I think the middle plateau is done. Now I can start setting up the droid command station. And now it's time to get back to the work I've been avoiding for most of the series, cloud work. Up until now I've been building a very flat, bumpy cloudscape with lots of slopes, bricks, and other kinds of bricks mixed in, but I'm not super happy with how that looks. So I'm just using cylinders and studs to create stacks of clear parts at different heights, creating a much taller and more dynamic looking build, which I'm hoping looks more like fluffy clouds or fog. One last thing to do is finish the transition from mountain to rock wall and cover up all that ugly green filler plate peeking out from underneath. And speaking of that, I still haven't fixed the other side.
He's just standing there, menacingly.
I'm really hoping those bricklink packages come in soon so I can finish up the final plateau and get Mygeeto done. I love doing pickup work because each little thing I do doesn't have a major effect on the build, but when you step back and look at the entire mock, it looks much better and more complete, especially when I'm doing this towards the end of the series. I'm really interested to see what I end up doing with this mountain tunnel area. This is one of the few times where I had a really solid vision of what I wanted something to look like, but wasn't really sure how it was going to integrate into the mock story-wise, especially because I already have an underground droid base on the other side. So I think this might make for a cool underground ship hangar that has an exit somewhere else in the mountain for the aircraft. The middle plateau is now completely done except for a couple small details. I'm going to try adding a little snow to the buildings and on the road, but that can't go in until all the minifigs, vehicles, and accessories and droid command area are on, and it'll probably just be mostly small patches around the edges since there's going to be a lot of traffic on that part, as you'll see in the finale. The clouds are still coming along very slowly. I got a bunch more built during last Saturday's live stream, so most of the mountain area is done and it's just around the bridges that are still needing some clouds. But I wish I hadn't waited so long to start everything. I thought it was going to be quick but boring, tedious work, so I thought why not just save it for the last 2 updates and it'll go super fast. Man, did I underestimate how long even this little cloud work would take. I really like this style of cloud work more. The stacks of cylinders give it a puffier, more cloud-like look, whereas the stuff I was doing last week looks flatter, more like churning water or ice. But it's all just background stuff anyway, so I'm just going to leave everything as is. The main bridge is now mostly done. The last big thing to tackle is the 3rd city plateau. The transition from mountain to retaining wall looks really good. I'm waiting on parts to do the rest, but I have a solid template right here of what I want that other side to look like. In the city, I have one last big empty space to fill in, and I decided to use it as a storage depot of sorts. I have a few of these massive containers that'll take up a decent amount of space, which is the most important thing here because I don't have much dark bluish gray tile left, and this will save me a lot. Plus, with all the defenses and military operations going on, there need to be lots of storage areas as well. I also added this giant trash bin per that Zach Wilk4174 suggestion, I want to take a second and thank you all for your suggestions and feedback on my content. My mocks turn out as good as they do in part because of what I read from you all in the comments, so it may not seem like much to drop a comment on a video, but it means a lot to me, even if it's just that you like my builds. I don't know if you've noticed, but this tall house has always been dark whenever I showcase the city lights, and that's because it's the last of the unmodified roofs, so I need to take it into the shop and get everything updated. I've been avoiding this because it's got the most dishes of any roof, and I was expecting that to mean more headache and frustration, but surprisingly it went very smoothly, and I popped off each dish, removed the black behind the windows, and made sure light could get through all of the bigger dishes to illuminate the whole thing properly. And once this is done, I'll only have one roof left to build. It was a lot more work, but lighting up each of the buildings was well worth the extra 40 bucks I spent on lights, and it is going to elevate the city and this entire mock to a whole new level and separate it from anything I've ever done before. I feel like this was the mock series that I became a true believer in lights and what they can do for a mock. I bought this cool looking dish for the droid base. I thought the printing on the front made it look more like a hatch that opens up and matches the lights in the rest of the base. At last, the final two packages have arrived. I'm really banking on these being all the rest of the parts I need. It's just more of what you've already seen, white plate and tile with dark bluish gray plate and tile, but so vital to getting this mock finished. I basically have 2 more days that I can order parts if I want them to come in time, and even that's pushing it. I immediately got to work tiling and plating to see if what I bought was sufficient. I also bought more ingots, which I promptly ran out of, but I was able to scrounge up just enough to get the main road done so I can breathe just a little easier. Now, time to tile off the ground. My biggest hurdle is getting this third plateau covered. I filled up as much of the empty space as I could with random builds, but I still have a lot of ground to cover. But while I was tiling this off, it began to look like my worst fears were coming true and I didn't order enough gray parts. So I decided to switch gears and finish the main bridge. That way, even if I ran out and had to order more stuff, I could still start setting up the minifigs and battle on the bridges, which is much more important and takes a lot more time, and just finish the last part of the city later since it's only going to be a few minifigs back there anyways. Thankfully, my collection stepped up to the plate and delivered a miracle, and everything is tiled off. That was a major weight off my chest because all the rest of the building is of minor importance and I already have the parts for. Now the big question is, do I have enough time to build everything? It's just random stuff like more snow detailing on the bridges and one last retaining wall along the side of the city, but one thing I really underestimated was how time consuming this final bit of building could be. By the end of last week, I knew I only had enough good building content for one more update, but it's all taking a lot more time than I planned. I spent almost an entire afternoon building without recording anything just to stay on schedule. I honestly could have squeezed one more update in, but this way I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone a little, and the extra episode would have probably been pretty short and honestly not that necessary. Sometimes spreading something out longer just to cover more content isn't a good thing. I got the last of the lights wired, but at great cost. While I was rewiring this one, I broke 2 of my bit lights. But now both bridges are completely lit and finished and they look magnificent. Now I know where all the wires are and I can start placing the small accessory builds like broken lights, gun emplacements, vehicles, and other random pieces of debris. I know better than to claim that the mock's finished now because big builds like this don't get finished, just done to a point where I can film the finale, since there's always something I could tinker with or improve or change. But I have a schedule to keep and now it's time to set the stage with the minifigs and vehicles. I'm putting in vehicles first from biggest to smallest. Once I know where they're going, I can fill in the gaps with the minifigs, gun emplacements, and other smaller builds I want. I split my clone army in half and placed each half on its respective bridge. I like to do this so I can block out how many minifigs will be where and make sure they're evenly dispersed. I don't do this with the droid since I've got so many I never need to worry about running out. Now it's time to start telling stories and really bring the mock to life. Just like that, this Mygeeto building series has come to a close. I still have work to do, but the next time you all see it, everything will be done. I'm always surprised and a little sad when a series wraps up. It feels like I need more time. I've just dedicated so much of my life to this for so long. It feels so weird having it all just come to a close. But part of a building project is ending it. We as humans have a tendency to hang on to things, afraid of putting out an imperfect, finished result. But part of the journey is doing the best we can and accepting that there will always be little flaws or things that can be improved upon, but that's not important. If we were able to capture the story we were inspired to tell to the best of our abilities, then our job is done and it's time to let it go out into the world and inspire and do what it needs to do in the lives of others. I don't remember being this excited or nervous for a mock finale. This is the best mock I've ever created, and I really hope these next couple of videos really do it justice and are able to capture the time and effort I put into this mock. I want to give a huge thank you you to each and every one of you who've supported this series and my channel. I wouldn't be doing videos at this scale if it wasn't for this incredible community lifting me up and helping keep the channel going. With that being said, I look forward to seeing you all at the finale next week, and until then, happy building.